Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Maria.
Hi, good morning all.
Hi.
How's things?
Things are good. I can't complain. It's a little murky outside, but the last throes of what was a pretty mild winter, really.
Yeah, so it's never going to rain again. Where's Professor Flannery these days?
Oh, he's living up on the Hawkesbury.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, which is a very strange place if you think that the water is going to rise. You keep away from rivers, and the Prime Minister should, if he's a climate advocate, climate change advocate, he shouldn't be living on the top of a cliff. Shouldn't have bought a new house on the top of a cliff.
Well,
the way he's going is he's going to be at the bottom of the cliff very soon.
Oh, yes. Now, the Albo Labor government, they like fences. They run around a lot but never really get anywhere. That's my little quote for the day.
They like fences?
Pardon?
You mean they're like fences?
Yes. You know, fences, you fence and you go around and fence your property and that.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
So the meaning is that they actually run around, but they never really get anywhere because, as you know, they're really going down the gurgler. Now, Jeremy, have you heard that Victoria's going to impose a bed tax disguised as a levy for people that have got holiday homes or their principal place of residence?
Yeah, look, they're going to tax everything in Victoria. They have to. They've run the place to the point where it's bankrupt.
Yeah, it starts on the 1st of January, but in a flash overnight, it was approved. So it's going ahead. I think the vote was something like 21 to 15. It's going to hit with 7.5% on top of the accommodation costs. But luckily, the hotels, motels and caravan parks are exempt. Now, I feel the government's really stupid and they never get anywhere, as I said. This will affect the economy and the benefits of these little country towns that serve genuine town needs to keep them alive. This will drive the young out of town and the towns will become ghost towns as some are doing now. You know, look, these people are supposed to be experts, but we can get them X'd out of here because they've got no brains between their ears. You never hear that we'll get a reduction in our council rates or our water rates or our electricity. Everything's going up, up, up. As the public service, that's going up, 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 and it's costing us a fortune. Now, with these extra homes built, one block, one house gets demolished and then 2, 6, 12 replace it. Councils are a drain on the public. It's time to cut this level of governance. You know my feelings about councils. They just impose too much pressure on their ratepayers. We get no service, you know, because it is supposed to be a service, but everything gets outsourced or they take one another to court all the time. Yeah. I found an old bill the other day. Yes, it's about 40 years old plus. The water rates were $8.97 and the sewerage rate was $8.14 and there was no supply charge. These days, your water rates are something like not water rates, your supply charge is $100 and your water or sewerage is about $74.20, and that's going up. But this person that told me their current water bill, they've got rainwater tanks, so they don't use any water. You know, the water comes from the sky, so they don't come through the pipes. But these exorbitant fees are put upon them. Now, I want somebody really with a backbone, as I've said with you before, with guts, with determination, with passion, come out and help the public and the ratepayers. Instead of all these politicians fighting amongst one another, as we've seen in our state parliament, what a debacle. Are these kindergarten kids?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it sure did look like it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know, and getting on to tobacco wars, it could be stopped immediately, Jeremy. Federal governments are forcing companies to put in X-ray machines, but surprise, surprise, at the airports, they aren't used or used for a couple of hours. They aren't monitored. Every container, every package must be checked and have a clever AI plus a smart program that picks up tobacco.
Yeah, well, you got to go to the cause of all of this.
Yeah.
The cause.
Now,
no, listen, Maria. The cause.
Yeah.
The cause is this illegal tobacco or chop or whatever it's called. It's coming flooding into the country. And supply and demand and the economics of the situation will determine it. You've got, in all honesty, you've got a crook's paradise. You've made the legal product, the cigarettes that you go and buy across the counter, you've made them so expensive that it is a bonanza for the criminal element to start. Forget marijuana, just ordinary tobacco is going to make them a fortune, even if they only get 10% or 20% of their contraband to market, they will still be making a huge amount of money. Now, if you want to stop the illegal, you're going to have to bring the price of legal cigarettes down, and I know that will gall a lot of people, but that would do a lot to stuff up the criminal model.
Yeah, but we stop it at the entry point, Jeremy. It doesn't get.
You can't stop it at the entry point.
Yeah, you can, because if you X-ray with an AI and a smart program, and these are detected, you know, they can detect anything and everything, and to do that, you've got to have that will, that guts, that passion to stop it at the entry point. And then if it does get into the shops, have real-time CCTV filming it in real time, sending that footage back to the police unit that can go and bust them, and have body cams. Hey, problem nipped in the bud. You don't have the underworld and all the other stuff that goes on in that trade, and also in NDIS. You can nip it in the bud if you've got guts and determination. There is a word can't, but I feel it's only a word. And if you have determination, all right, maybe not all people will be happy, but as you say, the government is losing revenue on the real cigarette trade. Well, you bring down, as you've said, bring down the price. You do what I've suggested, no trade, no funny business, and nobody can go. If you have, like in a shopping centre, you have a real good business, you know, that isn't illegal, you're always at the risk of being burnt out and your business is destroyed.
Yeah,
so got to stop it.
Maria, typically government, and if we cast our minds back, typically what government does is reacts to a problem that they've created.
Yeah.
And talking about tobacco or tobacco products, the issue of vaping in South Australia could have been eliminated as a problem by not creating the problem in the first place. The government allowed people to import vaping products. They allowed the supply chain to exist. They allowed retailers to set up, and people with goodwill and attitude had the right idea to set up business, and they did. Obviously took out loans, premises, all that type of infrastructure. And then the government said, suddenly we don't agree with it being a marketable product and now we want to stop it. Well, what about the people who legitimately want to run a business? And look, tobacco is available for people. I mean, a packet of cigarettes that would retail for $60, $45 of that is government taxation. So it's a very lucrative market for the government. But as Jeremy very well indicates, it's also a very lucrative market for the black market people, operators.
Exactly.
And I agree 100% with what you're saying. If at the point of entry, and these smart X-ray machines now are very, very clever at picking up almost anything. If you X-ray everything that comes into the country, and I don't know technically, how that would backlog.
But you know that only 10% of containers are ever inspected. 10% of containers. Yes. So God knows what comes into this country. Yes. Nobody would know.
Well, that's exactly right. And we could be talking about not just tobacco products, weaponry, explosives, any number of things could come into the country. Currency.
And electrical wiring.
Well, lots and lots of things. It's but as I said, the problem is usually it's like another subject, housing. Why do we have a housing crisis? Because the government in years ago didn't foreshadow a solution to it all and allowed the problem to escalate to a situation where it's now become like the pandemic. It's a viral problem in Australia, housing. And people, and it's, as you say, Maria, with all the costs that are being put onto the average Joe nowadays, and particularly retirees who haven't got an income because their income is fixed, it's becoming more and more difficult to survive and more difficult for young people to actually even contemplate having a family because the major problem for them is to have a roof over their head in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the trouble is the Labor governments, and I remember, and nobody has been discussing this for years, I remember Labor government saying, we don't need manufacturing, we don't need some construction, but we need to keep the CMFEU in a job, so we'll do a little bit of high rise. They said, we don't want that dirty manufacturing. We don't want dirty construction. We want to keep it within the CB limits of 20 kilometres. We can infill. We don't need anything beyond 20 kilometres or beyond Jeps Cross. These are supposed to be clever people. They've got a bit of paper,
They're not clever. They go to university. They've never had a real job in their lives.
Exactly, Jeremy. They haven't had a real job. They haven't had real life experience. They haven't had tough times. This is where we don't need any more lawyers or doctors or that in Parliament. We want real people that have experienced life and has got something between their ears.
Yeah. We need engineers in Parliament, really.
That's because he's an engineer.
People who build things, make things, fix things,
Lord
design
Elvis.
things.
Thanks, Maria.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.